What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards Football Sports Talk Radio. I'll be your host and producer this afternoon, Logan Landers, and joining me is our NFL insider, Trey Sims. Trey, what's going on, man? How you doing on this Wednesday afternoon?
I'm all right. How you doing?
Doing good, man. And today we're going to be talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers, your favorite team, their 2025 draft class. Going to look at it and see how well they did, and talk about all the players that are going to be wearing the Steelers uniform this upcoming season. But before we get to that, there was some Steelers news not dealing with the 2025 draft, but instead the 2026 and 2027. What I mean by that is the Pittsburgh Steelers this morning, yes, in the AM hours, decided to trade George Pickens, one of their top receivers, one of the best young receivers in the league, to the Dallas Cowboys in exchange for a 2026 third-round draft pick and a 2027 fifth-rounder. And the Steelers are also going to include a 2027 sixth-round pick with Pickens as well. So the Dallas Cowboys are going to get them a good receiver. And Trey, I'm going to get your thoughts because, yes, you guys did pick up DK Metcalf early in the offseason, but I know you were really excited to see the duo of Pickens and Metcalf for the upcoming season. And now he is no longer here. He went to your uncle's team. He went to Vincent Turner's team with the Cowboys. And I'm sure we're going to be seeing George Pickens jerseys all in Jerry World. But I want to get your thoughts, though, on the trade and how you think your team made out with all the draft picks.
Well, first I'm gonna start. Like I said, I'm really don't know why. I'm confused, and I know all the speculations about his attitude and how much effort he puts in sometimes, but I don't understand why you would make the trade when you made it. Because if you're gonna make it, you were supposed to make it during the draft or before the draft, and they didn't make it then, and then they waited 2 weeks and made it at 7:00 in the morning, or 8:00 Atlanta time. So I don't really understand that aspect of it. Then if you want to go football reasons, you're back to exactly what you were last year, which was with him, George Pickens, the star receiver, and then you have a bunch of whatever pieces. And I don't want to call it whatever because I like Calvin Austin. I like what Roman Wilson can be, but so you're basically doing a running back, except this time you added Robert Woods instead of Van Jefferson. But I don't. I guess you'll see whatever. I see what happens because, like they said, they got draft picks and they got a bunch of them for next year. They got I think 11 or 10 or 11 draft picks for 2026, so they're supposed to be everybody said they're trying a little for the quarterback because it's supposed to be a good quarterback draft next year, and then I guess you got to get a wide receiver, hopefully, So,
yeah. And we'll see because the talking point with Dallas was we talked about them earlier today. You can check out the full episode there. I thought they had a really good draft overall. Dallas did, but a lot of people were still kind of wondering how come they didn't pick up a wide receiver. Well, now you see why they didn't pick one up. That's the answer to that question there, and we'll see what happens in the upcoming season.
Even with that, because why did they pick a wide receiver? If you knew you were going to trade George, why didn't you pick a wide receiver? That's another. I don't understand what they're going to.
Yeah,
it don't make sense. That's all I'm gonna leave it right there. Hopefully they sign one of these free agents but I don't think they're gonna do it. But I know Keenan Allen's out there, Amari Cooper's out there too. So we'll see what they do.
We'll see. We'll talk about all that and then some. But let's get into the draft. Of course, the Steelers. I'll just run down the list here, Trey, and then I'll give you the ball, and you can talk about all the guys who are going to be wearing your colors this upcoming season. We got Derek Harmon, first overall pick in the first round out of Oregon, the defensive tackle, followed by Caleb Johnson in round 3, Iowa running back. Jack Sawyer, defensive end from Ohio State, champion right there. Black, defensive tackle from Iowa, great defense last year with that team. Will Howard, also another Ohio State guy coming over in the 6th round. You picked him up. Around 7, you got Carson Bruner, the linebacker from Washington, and then you rounded out with Dante Kent, the corner from Central Michigan. So, Trey, you got a good amount of guys there, a lot of defense, but what were your thoughts on this Steelers draft class overall?
Overall, I would give it an A because they addressed all the needs before the George stuff, but they addressed all the needs that people were looking at. They addressed the defensive line with twice because I love Derek Harmon and Yaya Black or YA Black. It's still from you hear different ways to pronounce it.
Mhm.
But they addressed that because that Cam's getting older. Everybody knows he's playing still at a pretty good decent level, but he's 36 years old. So you need a replacement for him. And Derek Harmon was supposed to be, according to a lot of people, he could have been a top 15 pick, and he failed at 21 and he had a little shoulder injury that people are concerned with. But he's everything you want. He's basically Cam Hayward is like a mini version of him, and then you're learning from Cam Hayward. And then they get to not have the draft pick in the second round, and then the third round to get Caleb Johnson, who a lot of people thought could be a second round draft pick, to fall to you in the third is great because it's the perfect fit. He's a zone runner. He's more explosive than Najee was, but he's bigger than Jalen, which they still have Jalen, so he's a good combination of both running backs we had last year. And so I really like Caleb Johnson. I love Jack Sawyer. Like anytime you get a championship DNA, because a lot of people would say like he's a Steeler. Like if you look at Jack Sawyer, he's probably gonna be a Steeler, a good draft pick for Pittsburgh. So I like the entire draft. Will Howard, I personally think that he could be something special because like he failed because he was projected to be the third, fourth round quarterback, and then as we know, the whole quarterback class kind of went crazy with Shador falling to the fifth round and Dylan Gabriel went before Shador. All that happened, even Tyler Shuck went in the second. Like no one was expecting him to go to the second. So with Will Howard falling to the sixth, that's a steal for me. And I think that he could be potentially a very good starter caliber quarterback. I know a lot of people might have their ups and downs about him, but I see that he's a winner because he won a national championship, against high quality competition. But Carson Bruner, that's bloodlines. His dad played for the Titans for the Pittsburgh, so that's what Pittsburgh they do that in the draft a lot. Like if your father played, or someone's on the coaching staff, or you had somebody that's related to the league or to Pittsburgh, usually they're going to try to find a way to bring him in. So, and Carson Bruner and Dante Kidd are both special teamers, so they focus on a little bit of everything. And so I think as a whole collective, I think it was an A draft for me.
Yeah, when I look at this draft class, a lot of people initially were like, Derek Harmon, great. I like Derek Harmon, but I think a lot of people were expecting, maybe wide receiver or an offensive, minded person in that first round. But he did some great work for the Ducks last year. We know how well he did. He's 6'5", 315, 320, give or take. So, he's a big dude. Like I said, they got Cam Hayward, who's still good, but he's getting older. You got to find someone to hopefully be a successor to him, and they're banking on Derek Harmon being that guy. So we'll see how he can do in his first year. So that pick makes a lot of sense. Caleb Johnson, the running back, got some love this year, and I think he's a good player, right? He's got really good speed, good in short yardage as well. More of just, north-south. He isn't going to juke you out a whole lot. He's just going to run down your throats and, get to the end zone. So I think, like I said, he's going to be wearing the same colors pretty much, but I think that overall, like I said, good pairing there with Jalen. I think that could be, that could maybe develop into a nice little 1-2 punch there. And the rest of the rounds, right? Jack Sawyer, getting him in the round 4, I thought that was an absolute steal. We saw how well he played, mostly in the playoffs for the Ohio State Buckeyes, and the clutch fumbles, the great sacks he had. He was a big part of why they won that national championship, and the fact that the Steelers picked him up in the 4th round says a lot, and it kind of makes me wonder why he didn't go earlier. But I know that you're as happy as you could be that y'all got him. Y Black or Ya Black from Iowa, another defensive tackle, second one he picked. Like I say, he's a raw player, I think. Someone that could be get a little bit of coaching. But let's see, you got Harmon, you got Hayward, you got the rest of the guys on the line. So he might not be, every day, at least initially. You might get him in a couple of sets, just depending on what schemes y'all are running this upcoming season. But someone who maybe could develop, right, over maybe this year, later, but more so this might be more of a project type pick. Just see how he does in training, if he can get better and better. But I like him overall as a player. And then rounded out Will Howard right there, round 6. A lot of people had him pegged to go like round 3, round 4. Some people even had him round 2, but he falls all the way to round 6. And I thought that, I mean, he looked great, really, pretty much the whole season for Ohio State, which is why I couldn't understand for the life of me why he got drafted so late. Because, yeah, you can look at his career at his other teams, right? Kansas State, so on and so forth. But I thought this play this past season with the Buckeyes was top notch. And like I said, he helped lead them to a championship. And just, I don't even have to tell you the numbers, just go and watch him. And you can see how dominant he was, and how he commanded the team, how he led the team, and how he just seemingly, drove down the field each and every possession, it felt like. So the fact y'all got him in round 6, and the fact that, there's people saying that he could compete for a starting job with whoever the quarterback's going to be this year, is interesting, and definitely a nice little, type of wrinkle in the quarterback controversy for these Pittsburgh Steelers. And then, like I said, rounding it out, Carson Bruner and Dante Kent, guys, like I said, they're 7th rounders. And these guys are, like I said, they're more likely going to be on the special teams unit and or practice squad. It just kind of depends on how the roster shakes out. But I will say, though, with like I said, Bruner's got the family ties, right, with his dad being in the league. He's good. He's had some good work at special teams already with Washington. And also with Dante Kent, a guy who I don't know, he could get some playing time, maybe not a whole lot, right? But if he just works hard and keeps his head down, he got 10 interceptions overall in college. So I mean, he can get to the ball playing for Central Michigan, and I think, like I said, he'll do some good work early on as a special teamer. But hey, if a guy gets hurt, I think that he has some good skills to maybe slide in there and to make a couple of big plays for the Steelers at some point during the season. So I'm with you, man. I think that this was a very solid draft class for the Steelers overall. You guys hit on a lot of different positions, a lot of defense, right? That was the main concern with the team. Y'all were hoping to get some defense, and you did get a quarterback. It's just maybe what one y'all thought was going to come to y'all, but you still got a really good player nonetheless in Will Howard. And I'm curious to see how that defense is going to do for Pittsburgh this year, just with all the additions that y'all have added, specifically to the D line. That's what I'm going to be focused on, is how is that defensive line going to look? How's the linebacker core going to be for Pittsburgh this upcoming year? But Trey, let's get your final thoughts here before we wrap up the show on this Wednesday afternoon.
Well, one thing I like about, I think every position except for Caleb Johnson's position is that they have a vet. Or let me say, if Aaron comes, they will have a vet for every position to learn under. But obviously, if Aaron comes, Will can learn under Aaron Rodgers. T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith is there to teach Jack Sawyer. We talk about Cam with Yaya Black and Derek Harmon. You just signed Darius Slay, who's a Super Bowl champion and 34, been in the league for 10 plus years. Dante Kent can learn from him. And then linebacker, Pittsburgh is known for linebackers, but you have plenty. Patrick Queen, you have a great linebacking coach. Like I say, if you think about Pittsburgh's defense, you think about linebackers. And like he's also, like I said, his dad is a professional, ex-professional player, and he's on the coaching staff. So it's all about, you can learn and they can get better as they grow. And so like I said, I'm very excited, and I can't wait to see what they do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested, man. This is a solid team. We'll see if Mike Tomlin can kind of get them out of the lull that they've been in the last couple of years, and maybe back to a more dominant position. We'll see. I think that it's looking like a defense first type of squad, right? That y'all are going to be stopping more points than gaining, at least at the moment, until we figure out who the starting quarterback's going to be. It's hard to judge. Like I say, you've got some good pieces on offense. You got DK, which is a good addition. You picked up Robert Woods, like you mentioned, who's he's been around the league. He's a reliable player. So we'll see how the Steelers team does. But I think this defense is going to be scary once it kind of gels and gets some chemistry together. This could be one of the top defenses in the league, just based off of the players they got in this draft alone, with Harmon and with Sawyer specifically. I mean, those two dudes are going to be wrecking havoc. Then, like I say, you throw in Cam Hayward, throw in T.J. Watt. I mean, that's a lethal, front seven up there for your defense. So I like this. I like this draft overall for Pittsburgh, and it's a team that kind of needed a jolt. And I think that it's on the defensive front. Offensive front, we'll see what happens now, especially with the George Pickens trade. But there is still some time left in the offseason, of course. So we'll see, and we'll cover all of the moves that they make leading up until the opening kickoff. But For my co-host today, Trey Sims, thank you so much, man, for coming on the show and talking about your team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and their 2025 draft recap. I'm your host and producer, Logan Landers. Guys, if you enjoyed the show, please like, follow, share, and subscribe. We go live each and every single week, Facebook and YouTube. Also, be sure to go check out our podcast, anywhere you listen to podcasts like Spotify, Apple Music. And also be sure to stay tuned tomorrow because we have another edition of Take 5 with Steven Travers, and we're going to be talking with former MLB player, former Red Sox Hall of Famer, and one of the best characters in baseball in Bill Spaceman Lane. That's going to be live tomorrow, 1:30 Eastern. So check us out here on the channel. But until we see you tomorrow, guys, enjoy the